Hey everybody, I'm Trevor, and I just wanted to take a minute to walk through communication and the setup of our snow operations here at Clintar, Ottawa. Just to give you an idea, if you're new with us or joining us from past seasons, how we're set up this year. To start off with, we have Chris Burns, the president. He is in charge of operations, and everybody that has to do with operations reports to him. For myself, Trevor, I am in sales and client relations. So anything to do with clients, client care, contracts, that all comes to me. So, but everything else, and particularly for what you're doing, it feeds up to Chris. Now Randolph is the guy that is sort of the face of our operation, and he is our ops manager for snow. So everybody reports to Randolph, and then there's three big buckets that report to Randolph. One of them is Algonquin College, one of them is the NCC downtown, and then what we call off-site, or everything else. Those three buckets all come up to Randolph, and they all have their own structure of supervision, account management, and how they kind of run and flow and operate. If you're working at one of these two sites, you have a campus site, and so when you're talking about using Aspire, it's going to be a lot simpler for you, just being able to clock in and punch in the tickets as you go. You also have supervision on site dedicated to the site, and so that's a bit easier. So anybody who's working on these sites down here will report to the supervisor of those two sites, and then that gets reported up and through to Randolph. On the off-site stuff, there's no direct supervisor, but for that stuff, all the operators will report through to Randolph and or dispatch. So if you think of dispatch over here, there's a phone connected to dispatch. That phone gets rotated around, so it's important for you. I'll explain that in a minute, but it's important to be communicating with dispatch consistently. The other piece that we have here is Chris Campbell, who is daytime working with and for Randolph. So whenever Randolph is primarily responsible for the overall structure of the properties, Chris takes over for him whenever Randolph goes home and goes to sleep. So dispatch can actually be any one of these people may have the dispatch phone, and sometimes in extreme cases, I might have the dispatch phone. And so when you're texting with dispatch, it could be any number of people. The idea there is you have some consistency in how you report things, and then that gets flowed through to the different places that we need to have it. Finally, you have your equipment piece, which is Mike. Mike, I really should have done it over here, so cross that off. So equipment, Mike reports to Randolph and Chris, whoever is in charge and in at that time. So he works very closely with Chris Campbell because Randolph is often asleep during the day, but the direction and the overall sort of theme of what he's doing comes from Randolph. So Mike does not report to the supervisors or the off-site account managers or anything like that. He's a standalone and goes directly to Randolph and Chris. So when you report things, it has to come up through here and then get dispersed to the places that it needs to go. So if I need any info to get back to the client and everything, all that information is coming up through to me. Don't sidestep it and shoot me a text directly, ideally, because you're missing all these other people who need to know what's happening. So ideally, the information is flowing up through here and to me so that I can get it to the client if it's my client. Same with Chris, he just has sort of a general oversight of everything. And when we make storm decisions or the outlook of how we're going to run our operations for that storm. We generally kind of look at it in terms of this group of people, higher levels on the management side for these two sites, how we're going to deal with those on-site bits, and then Randolph, Chris, and myself, along with Campbell, and how we're going to team attack that storm. So that's how it works. If you want to think about also just how HR works, HR Emily is over here, Kaylee as well, if you're been here longer. They're over here, and they really feed sort of directly into Chris, and then they get HR gets feedback from this whole group. So it might be from Randolph, it might even be from down here. If there's any issues or different things that we need to chat about and tackle, all that information kind of comes up to her, and she reports directly to Chris on how to solve those problems. So if you have any questions, make sure you reach out. Emily's a great source of information, and if you're not sure, best to ask. Thank you.